Hello, everyone. What's up? It's the Culture Detective here investigating your favorite movies, and today I have finally arrived at the last list out of the 12 lists I have to do on every list week. I finally arrived at the last list, also the list that I'm most anticipated and most excited to do, and that is, of course, top 20 favorite movies of 2022. First of all, I gotta say, damn, 2022 is such a fantastic year for films, for movies. There have been so many amazing movies this year, and a lot of them are also contender for my favorite movie of the year. So, yeah, it's been crazy. But yeah, I think partially the reason why I found so many great movies this year is because I've expanded my taste in films so much, but also because I've spent nearly a whole year in LA and I got to watch a bunch of movies that I wouldn't otherwise be able to watch if I stayed in Hong Kong. So, yeah, that is fantastic. Because let's start off with the honorable mentions. The first few movies I'm going to mention here are movies that won't even ever be screened in Hong Kong. First of all, I have to mention Bardo, or False Chronicle of a Handful of Truths, or Falsa Crónicas de unas verdades, or something like that. This is the new Alejandro González Iñárritu film, and it is easily his most surreal and experimental, and one of his most ambitious. I mean, to be fair, his films are all really ambitious, but still, very ambitious film, where it's sort of autobiographical, it's sort of expressionist, and it's very formalist, and I admire how out there it is. Then I have to mention the new A24 psychological horror movie Men by Alex Garland. This movie is very polarizing. It is not going to be everyone's cup of tea, but I still admire how gross, how unexpected, how twisted this movie is. I think the way this movie sets up the characters is very interesting. Particularly, one of the characters, or multiple characters, are played by the same actor in this movie, Rory McKinney, and I find that incredibly interesting. Next up, I have got to mention Zhou, or Incantation, which is the latest horror film from Taiwan. It got onto Netflix and it blew up a little bit. And not only is this movie pretty good, because I really love the way the movie combines Buddhism with horror elements, which I think is really rare nowadays, but also this movie is a shining example of how and why Taiwanese cinema is going to grow and expand onwards, which is very exciting to see. Afterwards, this movie is not very popular and well known. I only found out about this movie because I volunteered for the Asian World Film Festival a few months ago, and this is the first movie I saw in that festival as a volunteer, and damn, it's not bad. And that is a new movie called Ajuma from Singapore. So this is a Singapore / Korean film, and it is the debut film from director He Shu-ming, and this is a heartwarming, beautiful, touching, moving, soulful little family trip drama, Koreeda-esque drama, and it's just really freaking solid. And finally, I have to mention the new Darren Aronofsky film, The Whale, because it is very impactful, very depressing, kind of a movie, and I like that sort of stuff. And Brendan Fraser's comeback is absolutely amazing. He needs to get nominated for an Oscar, if not win one. And everyone else's performances are also really great. So anyways, let's get into the top 20 favorite films of the year. At number 20, I am giving it to After Yang by Kogonada. So Kogonada is an Asian American filmmaker, and this is his latest film here after the movie Columbus, which is a film that's pretty critically acclaimed. But After Yang right here is the first movie I've seen from the guy, and wow, this movie is a really meditative and beautiful and cerebral take on futurism and grief and loss. At number 19, I'm giving it to a Hong Kong film, and that is a documentary by the name of Blue Island, or Yawazido. I watched this film in a cinema, not in a big cinema, but one of those small theaters, and I am so happy I found it because it is a very socio-politically conscious, half documentary, half narrative movie, and it's really well shot. It's well made. Some of the parts of this movie are a little boring and a little less thoughtful than other parts, but I think overall this is definitely one of the better documentaries out of the wave of socio-political documentaries that Hong Kong is spewing out right now. At number 18, I am giving it to the first movie I watched in LA completely alone in the cinemas, and that is a Japanese film by the name of Jujutsu Kaisen 0. I watched this for like $6.25 or something, and it's totally worth it. It's a really fun prequel to Jujutsu Kaisen, a really fun, out there, awesome shonen anime that everyone should check out. But yeah, while I don't think Jujutsu Kaisen 0 is as nearly as fun and wacky and weird and quirky as the anime series itself, there are still a lot of redeeming qualities about Jujutsu Kaisen 0. I love the fights, I love the humor, I love the character designs, and overall, it's a damn good anime movie. At number 17, I am giving it to Marcel the Shell with Shoes On. This is another A24 movie, of course, and it is a really cutesy mockumentary about a tiny shell who wants to look for his family. It is very humane, it is very touching, and it's just awesome to me that some YouTube skit 11 years ago gets turned into a whole feature film with such beautiful production, with such care and love. The stop motion sequences are really cute and endearing, and I think the message of finding your own family and finding your sense of belonging is really beautiful. On a complete other side of the spectrum, we have our number 16 spot, a movie that's going to traumatize you and break you, and that is, of course, the German remake, and rightfully so, of All Quiet on the Western Front, or I'm not even going to try to say the German title, but yeah, the new All Quiet on the Western Front German remake of an American movie, which is based off of a German novel like nearly 100 years ago, and of course it is a lot better here. I think the production quality is a lot better, the editing, the cinematography, everything is a lot more well done. I think there are a couple of messy moments in this movie, but overall I think this is a very holistic and immersive war experience that is bound to give you some sense of psychological damage to a certain degree at least. So definitely check this one out. Number 15, a movie that I only finished watching yesterday, and I'm so happy I finished watching yesterday solely because I know this movie is going to end up on this list, and it did, and it is the latest Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery by Rian Johnson. So yeah, this is a pretty mainstream, popular, easygoing, straightforward, and straightforward in its presentation, not in its story, of course. Murder mystery from Rian Johnson. This is also a sequel to Knives Out, and while I really love the simplicity of Knives Out, the first movie, Glass Onion right here is a lot more ambitious, a lot more messy, but in that way, it's also a lot more fun. Yeah, there are plot holes in this movie, but it doesn't really matter to me. It doesn't really make me enjoy this movie any less because it's just so much fun. The comedy actually works out. I think Daniel Craig's character, Benoit Blanc, is amazing. It's definitely one of the better murder mystery movie protagonists I've ever seen. He's just awesome in these comedic roles. Edward Norton is also really good. Every single character has their own quirk, and it's just really entertaining to see. And the movie is 2 hours and 30 minutes long, and it's a breeze to go by. It's a breeze of a watch, and that's really impressive. So yeah, overall, I enjoy this movie, and I think it is worthy of the 15th spot. At number 14th, I am giving it to the new Luca Guadagnino film Bones and All. Also a movie that I watched very recently and I didn't have time to review. I watched it uh by the end. Oh, it's funny. Bones and All is actually the last movie I watched in 2022. But yeah, new Luca Guadagnino film. This is actually his first American movie, and it's really well made. He basically takes romance and cannibalism and maybe a little bit of art house cinema and just mix them together. And the whole thing is like an allegory for the LGBTQ community. But yeah, it's very interesting. It's also easily Luca Guadagnino's most straightforward and accessible film. It's kind of fast paced, but it's still really well made. A lot of the shots here look beautiful. I love the smoky cinematography. I like how this movie doesn't try to be overly ambitious with itself. It knows what it is, it knows its place, and it sticks to it. And even though this is very accessible, it's still very artsy in its presentation. And I think Timothée Chalamet did a very great job in this movie. And yeah, number 13. 13th favorite movie of the year, Palme d'Or winner, Triangle of Sadness by Ruben Östlund. So, Triangle of Sadness is the new multinational 2.5 hour long epic satire comedy movie about rich people sucking, about rich people getting hurt and shit. And that's basically the whole movie. And I just can't seem to get tired of watching movies like this. I love watching rich, entitled people get hurt and be uncomfortable. It's always fun to see that sort of shit. But also the first 2 acts of the movie are incredibly snappy, witty, clever. Woody Harrelson is fantastic in the movie. I also love the title sequence a lot. Oh, speaking of title sequences, I forgot to mention After Yang's hilarious dance title sequence. But yeah, I love the title sequence of Triangle of Sadness. The last act dragged on a little bit, but I think overall the film is very smart, witty, funny, and again, it's really long, but it sort of flew by for the most part. And the yacht scenes are my favorite. They are hysterical, really. And don't go into this movie thinking that it's going to be very family friendly. It's got some really realistic vomiting. Yeah, and it's not one scene. There are multiple scenes of vomiting, so beware. Number 12, one of the most popular films this year, one of the most talked about, anticipated, and that is, of course, Matt Reeves' The Batman. And this might be my favorite Batman movie and my favorite DCEU movie since The Dark Knight by Christopher Nolan. This is a very artistic and sort of a cerebral take on the Batman genre. It's very emo, it's very edgy, and it commits to it. It doesn't fall short of its commitment at all. I think Robert Pattinson's portrayal of the Batman is so emo, so good, and also Zoe Kravitz's Catwoman is so damn good, and also Colin Farrell as the Penguin. He's amazing. He completely melts into his character. Every single character is good. The cinematography, damn. Gotham, the design of Gotham, the dirtiness, the disgusting, piss-stained grossness of Gotham is just so well portrayed here. The mystery, Paul Dano. This film is just taking the Batman and making it artistic and in a higher level. And I just really love that. Number 11, speaking of popular movies, Top Gun Maverick. This is ultimately American propaganda, I know, but for some reason it's well-made, good American propaganda. This movie basically follows the meat and potatoes Hollywood formula, but make it even better and elevate it higher by making it extremely entertaining. A very crazy Mission Impossible-esque last act that came totally out of nowhere but still really work. A lot of exhilarating flying sequences. I have no idea how the hell did they shoot those sequences, but they did it, and it's awesome. Tom Cruise is great, and this is a rightful sequel. I thought this movie's gonna suck ass. It didn't. It is a rightfully well-made sequel with new characters, and it's infinitely better than the original Top Gun. Alright, number 10, Broker by Koreeda Hirokazu. This is your classic Koreeda Hirokazu movie, and if you're into movies and you don't know who Koreeda Hirokazu is, What the hell are you doing? What the hell are you doing? Watch his movies. Oh my god, he is one of the best directors working right freaking now. Oh my god. But yeah, this is Koreeda Hirokazu, a Japanese director, making a Korean movie, and it's actually good. What? So this movie is a very basic Koreeda type movie, you know, a family drama, road trip. It's heartwarming. It's not particularly fast paced, but it is not really slow either. In fact, I would say Broker is one of the most accessible and one of the most mainstream friendly Koreeda films he's ever made. And this is essentially Koreeda making a Korean blockbuster. I mean, this movie has Song Kang-ho and IU. IU in this is in this movie for some freaking reason. And yeah, it's even though it's basic Koreeda formula, it's still extremely well made. It's really heartfelt. It's really beautiful. It's really humane. I love the father figures and mother figures of the movie. It's essentially a very unlikely combination of people coming together to be a family for a certain baby. And it's just an awesome road trip ish movie that takes place in South Korea. And also, I find it really funny that this is essentially Koreeda's imitation of what a modern Korean film should be. You know, it has a mouth-watering food scene. It has a twist at the end. And it's just really interesting to see it. And it's just a really well-made movie. Broker. Number 9, I am giving it to The Northman by Robert Eggers. This is Robert Eggers' third film and a movie that I have been super excited to see because Robert Eggers is also one of the best directors working right now. And The Northman is Robert Eggers departing from horror and thriller and going towards Viking Viking action thriller with a lot of fighting and a lot of violence, and that's basically The Northman. And it's really well made. First of all, this movie, even though from the fact that this movie is not A24 anymore, and from the trailer, and from the frickin' floating heads poster, you and I both know that this movie's not going to be as artsy as The Witch or The Lighthouse. But even so, Robert Eggers tries his very best to retain his artsiness, especially in the first act of The Northman, which is my favorite act in the entire movie. But even so, the middle part, the ending, it's exhilarating, it's exciting. There are a lot of twists and subversions of expectations that I really enjoyed towards the end of the movie. And I like that this doesn't exactly follow a traditional Viking revenge story formula. It does its own thing, and it's just fantastic to see so much attention to detail to the production design and to the costumes and to the makeup. I mean, after all, Robert Eggers had been working in the art department for a long time before he directed his own movies, so The Northman. Number 8, a movie I watched in the cinemas yesterday, and that is Steven Spielberg's latest, The Fablements. Yeah, so it is a really long autobiographical movie from Steven Spielberg about his childhood, about him getting into movies, and then meeting John Ford at the end of the movie, which is, by the way, my favorite scene in the whole movie and one of my favorite scenes of the whole year. David Lynch cameo. Ooh, yeah, that alone is enough to put this movie in the top 10. But yeah, don't go into The Fablemans thinking that it's going to be an epic movie with a lot of crazy things happening. It's not. It is a simple, straightforward autobiographical movie by Steven Spielberg. It's sort of all over the place, but that's kind of why and how it's autobiographical. You know, he talks about how when he was a kid, he wants to play with trains, and then he has some family issues, and he goes to high school, he moves to Arizona, he moves to California, he gets bullied, and blah 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 blah. And it's just, there's sort of a passion to it. Like when Steven Spielberg directed this film, you don't think it's just a Hollywood movie. This is special to him, and it's just really well directed. Directing 101, Hollywood 101, and definitely a movie that came out of his own heart. At number 7, we are entering the 9 out of 10 territory here, and this is a movie that really made Martin Scorsese say that the clouds are lifted, and that is Tar by Todd Field. This is a biographical movie about a person who doesn't exist. And it is brilliant and equal parts paranoia inducing and equal parts harrowing and bold. This movie doesn't try anything crazy. It is incredibly studied and intelligent. After watching this movie, I feel like I gained 100 more IQ on top of my original IQ. Kate Blanchett completely melts into this character of Lydia Tarr, who seems very nice on the surface, but really is a rotten, lying bitch in the inside. And throughout the whole film, you see her fall from grace, slowly but surely, in the most majestic and orchestral way possible. This is just, yeah, and also very paranoia inducing. There are a lot of moments here where things just happen and you just don't really understand what's going on completely, even after the movie finishes. And it just builds the paranoia in you. It just builds the tension, and it's so well made. Number 6, this is a bit of a personal pick because this is definitely not going to be on anyone else's list, but it is on my list for very personal reasons. And of course, this is hopefully I don't get my ass arrested for saying this. Revolution of Our Times by Kiwi Chow. This is a 2021 movie, but really it didn't get its wide release until 2022. And that's because this documentary movie is banned. It is banned in China and Hong Kong because it is exactly about the socio-political movements in Hong Kong in 2019 with the protests and with the police brutality and with what the government is doing and everything like that. So obviously it's going to be banned. And this documentary, now again, this is a very personal pick. Maybe it's not a really well-made documentary, but I cried 3 times watching this, or 4 times. That alone is powerful enough for me to place the documentary at such a high spot. But not only that, but seeing a 2.5 hour long epic documentary from Hong Kong is a really rare sight. Again, Hong Kong lately has been spewing a lot of documentaries, and I think this one is definitely the one that's going to headline them all. This is the benchmark of all the documentaries that Hong Kong has been spewing out lately. The bravery and the courage of Kiwi Chow making this movie is incredibly admirable. I mean, he could get himself arrested and jailed, or even worse, just for having the idea of making this movie. And the fact that this movie got made is a miracle. And the fact that I got to watch this movie is also a miracle. And yeah, it's just very personal, and I just can't stress enough how much I respect the making of this movie itself. Alright, top 5, here we go. Number 5, Jordan Peele's Nope. This is easily, hands down, my favorite film from Jordan Peele so far. After Get Out, after Us, we have Nope, and this is my personal favorite. This is Jordan Peele basically completely artistically maturing himself to a point where he basically elevated his own stories from being a cool, quirky little horror thriller to actually being something very artistic and kind of abstract. Nope is a lot more high octane than I thought it would be. I watched it in a cinema, and thank God I did that, because on a big screen, those empty nighttime shots are a lot more horrifying and a lot more harrowing and ominous than it would have been on a freaking laptop or something. Yeah, this is so atmospheric, and the more atmospheric and the more slow paced this movie is, the more I absolutely love it. I love so many scenes. And even so, this movie is somehow also at the same time the funniest movie Jordan Peele has made. Some of the jokes in this movie, the characters, they're all incredibly funny. Daniel Kaluuya's stone cold character might not be everyone's cup of tea because that's not very entertaining to watch. But because of that, because of his hard sanity, in contrast with everything else's insanity, I think it makes the movie even more absurd, even more comedic, and I actually really like that. Keke Palmer is amazing in this movie, and the cinematography by Hoyte van Hoytema, very great, very fantastic. The nighttime cinematography, by the way, amazing. Steven Yeun is amazing as well. And I just love the way the movie deals with themes of exploitation and enjoyment and entertainment. There are a lot of moments in this movie that make no sense and they don't get explained. But that's all the more reason why I love it. Because Jordan Peele doesn't only make this a straightforward story. No, it makes it an allegory. It makes this movie a concept so that people will watch and actually think about it and discuss on it. And that's freaking awesome. So yeah, I'm so excited for whatever Jordan Peele's making next. Nope is fantastic. Number 4. Whoa, wow. Damn, I'm getting hot. I need to take off this thing. RRR by S.S. Rajamouli. So yeah, this is the first time an Indian film has ended up on my top 10 favorite movies list. I know there are probably a lot of amazing, epic Indian movies out there that I'm totally missing out, but like many others around the world, this is my first exposure to Tollywood cinema, and I absolutely love it, and it's freaking fantastic. So yeah, RR is a 3-hour long epic action thriller rom-com, and by rom I don't mean like romantic, I mean like bromance, movie about 2 Indian guys destroying the Brits. And that's the whole movie. They beat up the Brits and they blow up their base, and it's freaking amazing. This movie is everything Hollywood wants to be and 10 times better. This is so damn exciting and fun. It's been so long since I've had so much fun watching a movie. It's been so freaking long, by the way. Every single act in this film is just skin tight, and it's amazing. It's 3 hours long, and the first 1 hour and 30 minutes basically go over Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3. But then the last 1 hour and 30 minutes is basically Act 3 again and again and again and again and again, but in different situations, at different points. And it's all completely amazing. It's fast-paced as hell, actually. Yeah, it's 3 hours long, but the story is a lot. There are 2 main characters, and both of them have their own situations. The action sequences in this movie will leave you breathless. My favorite sequence in this movie involves tigers and elephants and deers and wolves hopping out of cages in slow motion while one of the main characters storm a palace. I'm not kidding. It's insane. The action, like one of the scenes, involves one of the main characters holding up a motorbike and slamming it against another person or like a horse or something. And it's just absolutely stunning. I watched this for my film history class. I didn't watch this in the actual cinemas. I watched it in an auditorium in my college campus. And everyone was on the edge of our seats, their seats, our seats, whatever. And the musicals, yes, there are singing and dancing in this movie, and they're all really great. I love the last dancing sequence and the ending sequence, of course, but also the nacho dance is so much fun. And usually I find these things cringy, but when I see 2 Indians showing that Indian culture is also just as important as British culture, and telling the Brits that, hey, we Indians know India better than you do, so shut the fuck up. And then they just dance off and impress the girls, and all the British dudes are like pissed. It's so redeeming for some reason. It's amazing. It's freaking amazing. And it's propaganda. A lot of people, so I made my RR movie review and it became my most watched review on this channel, duh. And a lot of people in the comments are like, no, it's not propaganda. But I'm going to be honest here. It is propaganda. It is propagandist, at least, because this is ultimately a movie that bolsters nationalism for Indians, but it is positive propaganda. It doesn't fight the Brits with hate. It doesn't fight hate with hate. It fights hate with love. with singing and dancing, with positivity, with friendship. And that's what makes this so damn great. At number two, or number three, I am giving it to The Banshees of Inisherin by Martin McDonagh. This is the new film from Martin McDonagh, and it's also one of his simplest films because this movie takes place in the 1920s on some island off of the shore of Ireland, and it's about two guys stop being friends with each other, and that's basically it. And while it's really simple, because of its simplicity, Martin McDonagh is able to really explore the characters, the relationships, and the absurdity and the poetic hilarity of the situation. And I think that's what's so beautiful about this movie. It's also unfortunately relatable to me. Like, friends suddenly one day stop liking you. It's a thing that really happens. And Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson are both fantastic in their roles. But also, the gothic elements of this movie are amazing and really well incorporated into the humor of the movie, which is also really, really well done. And there are also a lot of small details about this movie that made it so well crafted. I love the Irish cinematography here. It's very grand and picturesque. And things like human nature, a boring guy trying to stop being boring by doing villainous things, being a bit of a troll, and just the nature of people, town life, village lifestyle. Yeah, I just love how cleverly written and refreshing this movie is. At our number two spot, we have a movie, and I'm in love with this movie. I'm in love with this movie, and that is 헤어질 결심, or Decision to Leave, by Park Chan-wook, who is one of the most exciting directors working today right now. If I get to, I swear, I need to meet the guy in person and ask him how did he make these movies. I need to meet him in person. I'm not lying. At some point in the future, if I become a successful filmmaker, I have to see him. I need to see him. How did he make these movies? Old Boy, The Handmaiden, and now this. Come on, dude. And yet, Decision to Leave is an extremely carefully crafted, ingenious, brilliantly written and designed neo-noir murder, mystery, crime, thriller, romance movie between Tang Wei, who is a Chinese actress who did an amazing job playing a part in a Korean movie, as well as Park Hae-il, who form amazing chemistry in this film. Not only does Decision to Leave have some of the most masterful cinematography and editing I've seen all year and all my life, oh my god, like the greens and the blues, the insane imagery, the architecture, the sets, oh my god, the scene transitions are so damn brilliant. People, like fans of editing, editors, need to watch this movie just to study the scene transitions themselves. They are some of the most insane, wild scene transitions I've ever seen. But also the allegory, the relationship between our main two characters, the chemistry between them, the relationship between mountains and oceans, and the mystery themselves are so engrossing and encapsulating. It's just awesome and amazing. This is also surprisingly tame for Park Chan-wook in terms of sex and violence, but that is made up for how alluring and strange and neo-noir this movie is, which Park Chan-wook carefully portrays. And yeah, just the musical choices are great. The script is amazing. It's tack sharp. It's really witty. A lot of tiny clues here and there. And it's also a movie structure that I don't see very often in other conventional movies. I mean, this movie's not conventional at all. And also the femme fatale by played by Tang Wei is just one of the best femme fatales I've seen in modern 21st century neo-noir. She actually has a very alluring quality to her character, and also at the same time very dangerous, and I just real love it. So yeah, endlessly rewatchable, endlessly interesting movie, Decision to Leave. And that leaves us to our number one spot, and you and I both know what it is. You and I both know what it is. Drum roll, please. Everything Everywhere All at Once by the Daniels, aka Daniel Kwan and Daniel Shiner. So yeah, obviously this movie's gonna end up on my number one spot. This is the only movie this year that got a 10 out of 10 from me, and I absolutely love this movie, and now it's one of my favorite movies of all times. And I know that's very cliche because a lot of people probably say the same thing. This movie is gonna end up on everyone's list. Go to any other YouTuber, like literally any other movie critic YouTuber, and Everything Everywhere All at Once will be on their list somewhere. On the number 3 spot, on number 4 or 5, maybe outside of the top 10, but it'll be on their list at some point. And the reason being is that this is an absolutely insane movie that's literally everything and everywhere and all at once. This movie is literally everything, everywhere, all at once. I'm not kidding. Name a genre, and this movie is that genre. It's got thriller, it's got drama, it's got romance, it's got family stuff in it, it's got mystery, it's got suspense, it's got horror moments, it's funny as hell. There are dance sequences in this movie, there's a bit of singing in it, the donut song, it's got literally everything. This is a maximalist cinema. A lot of filmmakers nowadays stick to minimalist cinema because simplicity is the best. In this day and age, when there's so much information, when consumerism consumes all, of course you want to stick to something simple in order to shine from the rest. But no, this movie, the Daniels, they looked at the situation and said, fuck no, we're going to make the most epic, wild, ambitious, creative, maximalist film ever, and it's going to be about life and death and the meaning of everything, and it's going to blow everyone's minds, and it actually worked. This movie is so much fun. First of all, not a single second feels like a waste of time. It's very fast-paced and witty, and also it just immediately hooks you in, like in the second scene or the third scene or something. The moment Michelle Yeoh went to that tax building and went to this elevator and saw her entire life flash by her eyes, that is the moment this movie hooked me. And every single scene after that is just amazing. I laughed really hard. I cried in this movie a couple times, especially, oh my god, that scene where Wayne, Ki-hai Kwan, when he was like, in another life I would rather, run a laundromat with you. Like, that moment legit made me cry. And the ending of the movie, oh my god, just movies like this are benchmarks in cinematic history, because a movie like this come out and then 5, 6, 7 years from now, there won't be any other movie that can top this movie by how original and how creative it is. And yeah, I wouldn't say it's original. Like, sure, this movie takes a lot of inspiration from The Matrix. There's a whole sequence in this movie that's literally a Wong Kar-wai ripoff. But this movie does so in such a cheeky and such an obvious and self-aware way. It never becomes a problem. And it's just unexpected. I went into this movie thinking that it's just going to be a goofy, crazy sci-fi, but no, this movie is about the meaning of life and the meaning of existing. It's actually really bold in what it's trying to say, and yet it doesn't act all serious, like, oh, this movie is actually really serious and it's actually very intellectual and deep. No, it takes such heavy subject matter and dumb it down purposefully so that we can all enjoy it and love it, and we can all see it in our own lives. And that's what's so damn beautiful and powerful about this movie. It's one of a kind. It really is. So yeah, Everything Everywhere All at Once, my favorite movie of the year. I know it's a very cliche pick, but I have to admit it. I love this movie the most. So, What are your favorite movies of 2022? Comments below, let me know, and subscribe if you want more, and thanks for watching. I'm going to take a break. Maybe 3 days from now, I'm going to do a summary video where I summarize round 2, but otherwise, I need to take a break, and I need to finish my UCLA Film School application. Please let me in, please.